And a good Erev Shabbat to Toronto. This week's Parshat Emor, we have a fascinating machloket between the Prushim and the Tzdukim, those who believe in rabbinic interpretation of the Tanakh and those that do not. The pasuk says in Mochata Shabbat, and the day after Shabbat, you should go ahead and bring the Omer. And the question is that Shabbat is referring to Shabbat Bereshit, namely the seventh day of the week, or is Shabbat there not referring to Shabbat as we colloquially know it as, but rather the first day of Pesach? So the Tzdukim, who take the Torah literally, believe that it's referring to Sunday, the day after Shabbat, and the Prushim, who understand it according to the rabbinic interpretation, understand it as the first day after Pesach. Okay, sounds like an interesting machloket, but I think there's a lot more at stake than just that. And the ramifications of this machloket is the connection of Shavuot, Matan Toratena, the day of the giving of the Torah, to Pesach. Because if you are a Tzduki and you are taking the Torah interpretation literally, so then Shavuot is not necessarily 50 days after Pesach. It actually can be 51 days, 52, 53 days. It is an independent holiday that really has nothing to do with Pesach itself. But if you are a Prushi and you are understanding it according to rabbinic interpretation, so then Shavuot always falls out 50 days after the first day of Pesach, which means that they are intrinsically connected. In other words, Pesach is the beginning of the holiday and Shavuot is the end of the holiday. In fact, the Ramban al Torah says explicitly that Shavuot is considered like the end of the Pesach holiday, and in fact the days in between are kind of like this quasi Cholamoid as we celebrate the birth of our nation. And Chazal even stress this in the Gemara. Every time they refer to Chag HaShavuot, they refer to as Chag HaAtzeret, the day, the Chag that is the ending day, the ending of this long process that began at Yetziat Mitzrayim. And they do this, in fact, to go ahead and almost attack the idea of the Tzdukim that Shavuot is some type of independent Chag. Now, what are the ramifications there? What does it mean whether Shavuot is an independent Chag or it's really an extension of Yetziat Mitzrayim, an extension of the Pesach story? And I think the question is well, is there such thing as independent freedom? Is there something to go ahead and value in this idea of just, freedom in and of itself? And Tzdukim would say, yeah, we have Yetziat Mitzrayim, and there's what to go ahead and celebrate of just the Yetziat Mitzrayim, just the freedom. But the Prushim, which is us, believe no, just freedom in and of itself, that's not actual freedom. That's anarchy. That's hefkerut. Real freedom is the freedom to go ahead and to achieve something. Freedom is to go ahead and work towards specific goals. I have the freedom to go ahead and do something, not just freedom to go ahead and do nothing. Therefore, real freedom only comes when we have Matan Torah, when we have laws, a set of guidelines, which is going to go ahead and bring us to our greater selves, bring us to a connection to God. And therefore, real freedom only comes, of the Yetziat Mitzrayim, only comes when it's connected to the Matan Torah of Shavuot. We even see this by Hagar. Hagar runs away from Sarah. She's being afflicted, and the Malach goes ahead and asks her, hey, Hagar, where are you coming from and where are you going? And Hagar answers, I'm coming from my mistress. I'm coming from my mistress Sarah. But she does not answer where she's going. And therefore the Malach goes ahead and responds to Hagar and says, Hagar, go back to Sarah and continue to be afflicted. The Malach wasn't being mean. He was just stating fact, saying, Hagar, if you don't know where you're going, then you're just still a slave person. You don't really have freedom. So go back to go back to Sarah and be afflicted by her, because you don't have freedom unless you know where you're going, and you don't know where you're going. So true freedom only comes in direction of achieving something. It's not just hefkerut, but it's freedom to something. And with that in mind, we should all build towards that freedom as we approach Matan Torah. A Shabbat Shalom to all.